Hello and welcome to our program Where God Weeps, a program where we speak about the situation of the suffering and persecuted church around the world. We're coming to you today from Beirut, Lebanon, a country that's been in the news as of late. Bad news is everywhere, but there's also good news. It's just quieter. To tell us about this good news, it's my great privilege to welcome Monsignor Toufic Bou-Hadir, the director of the Maronite Patriarchal Commission for the Youth. Welcome, Monsignor. Thank you for being with us here today in our program.
Thank you, Mark. You're so welcome in Lebanon, and I'm very pleased to be with you in this interview.
Monsignor, you are responsible for the youth work of the Maronite Church in Lebanon. Can you tell us what is so special about the faith of the Lebanese young people?
Yes, really, it's a characteristic of the youth in Lebanon and also in all this Orient. They have this faith rooted in this land, in this holy land. You know, Lebanon is part of this holy land. Jesus and Mary came to this land. The saints of this land and the martyrs gave this land very worthy to our youth. So our youth are so committed because they know that they have a mission. They know that their presence here, they received the word of John Paul II, the Pope, that we love a lot here in Lebanon, that he says that Lebanon is very more than a country. It's a message. It's a message for the East and the West, for the Orient and to every place. Our youth knows really that they have this mission to be in this country, in this Orient, to be as Jesus asked them to be, the yeast and the bread, the salt, the light. And that's what they are witnessing, despite all the problems, despite all the challenges. So our youth have this faith, have this hope, have this love, this theological virtue to be witness of the gospel in the world of today.
Monsignor, Lebanon experienced a terrible explosion on the 4th of August of 2020, in which over 200 people were killed, 6,000 were injured, and over 300,000 people were left homeless. How have the Christian Lebanese youth been helping in this time after this explosion? What have they been doing concretely to help and to show the sign of love to their neighbors?
You know, this explosion came in a time that our country and our youth are facing a lot of challenges. This year was very dramatic, very hard to Lebanon. First of all, when we realized how big is this explosion, this blast, our first appeal was our youth to go to the hospitals and to the Red Cross to give blood to the victims, to give blood to the injured people. But the other thing was giving shelter to the displaced families. You know, all the convents and all the schools and all the parishes opened their door to welcome all the displaced families who got their homes distracted. Then they began to make initiatives. When Cardinal Parolin came in the name of Pope Francis, he said that the youth volunteering was really the sign of hope in the darkness. They came to support the families, to see what their needs are. They make plans, campaigns for food donation, for home appliances donation, and they organized how to give it to the needy people. Then became the time of helping families to make the restoration of the homes. Even country and big organization cannot come to fulfill this need because it's very big need, okay? But we believe for our faith that lighting a candle can make a change. And our youth, they know that they always are the pioneer of the change, the agent of the change So they came and do whatever they can do, but they make the change, the real change.
Father, you have been working side by side with these young people. Was there one story of somebody who received you who was a story that touched you?
Yeah, sure. You know, first we said that we will begin with the homes. But what we choose as the first homes to help are 51 houses of the Faith and Light community. First, Faith and Light community is the community of friendship with the young people with special needs and their families. And what is very good about this community, that these children, these young people with special needs, they remain in home. They are not in associations. So this home means a lot for them. They are their kingdom.
They're not in an institution, they are in a home.
Yes, so when their home is affected anymore, they're
lost.
They're lost. So we said, first of all, we will help these people. One of the stories was the story of Rita. When we go to visit them, Rita wasn't talking, wasn't smiling. She was injured in her neck and in her hand. She's very near to the blast, and her parents were injured, and her house was deteriorated. But what she was very worried about, and she was very sad about, that her laptop, her computer was deteriorated. Okay, and this computer was her life. She play on it, she draw on it, etc. When the parents tell us, so the youth said, before bringing to this house the glass, the doors, the windows, the refrigerator that they need, we will bring this laptop, because this laptop means life for Rita. So they go and they give the money from everyone, and they bought the laptop. And when we bring it to her, it was her first smile after the blast, and his first words to say, "Thank you, now I'm living again." This little story means that charity, that being together is life, that hope really have power more than any hate, more than any terrorist, more than any darkness. The last word, as for Jesus on the cross with the resurrection, the last word was for love. So really, we always pray that our youth remain always these protagonists, these leaders in teaching us where the real life is, in hope.
Monsignor, I want to touch briefly on the question of the victims, because there was a young man that I read, you told the story about Joe. Can you tell us the story about Joe?
Yes, it's a very touching story about Joe. He's one of our young people. He's 25 years old. He worked in the port, and he was one of the missed people that we didn't find, that the parents were so worried about for even 5 days after the blast. The mom of Joe was saying on a TV report that Joe was asking her if they must immigrate, if they must go from the country because all of this crisis we're facing here. She said to him, "And if we go, who will water the cedar?" You know, the cedar is the symbol of Lebanon.
The tree, the cedar tree.
The cedar tree is the symbol of Lebanon. In saying who will water the cedar means who will make us rooted here in this land. And Joe decided to stay here. And after 2 hours of this saying of her mother, they found the body of Joe holding the cross in his hand. And all our youth said that Joe watered the cedar with his blood. You know that the blood of martyrs are the sign of new life for Christians. And that's what we are saying now to our youth, that we need to stay here. It's a meaning to stay here. And everybody who is helping and assisting the Lebanese and the young Lebanese to stay in Lebanon is watering the cedar, is helping them to stay rooted in our homeland, in this land that we need to keep as a message for Christians in the West before the East.
In the West before the East?
Yes.
Why? As a sign?
Because, Lebanon is a big need for the Christians of the Orient. His regime, his kind of political regime, is different than the old. The Christians have their role in Lebanon. And we, as surrounded by all other religions, makes our youth and our Lebanese people Christian remaining here is a big message and support for all these Christians. If they are support for all the Christians of the Orient, how to be support for the Christians in the whole world? Because here is the birth of Christianity. From here the gospel goes abroad. If we are not here anymore, if we let our roots take out of this land, what happens for the future? What future is for our mission in this world? In this time in the Maronite liturgy, we're celebrating the elevation of the cross, time, and we are meditating about how the coming again of Jesus. He will come again when every knees in the earth and in the heaven and every tongue will proclaim that Jesus is Lord. How we will have the fire of this mission. We must remain supporting these roots here and the Christians here, where we have despite all the wounds, despite all the challenges, despite all the persecutions.
You must stay.
We must remain. We must say that Jesus is our only hope and our only salvation.
Monsignor, you are the initiator of an Arabic version of a youth catechism called UCAT. Can you tell us a little bit about how the story was of the start of this Arabic version, which has exploded as a youth tool in this country?
Sure. Well, the UCAT, when we go to assist the World Youth Day in Madrid in 2011, with Pope Benedict XVI, he gave a gift to the youth of the whole world. It was the UCAT. UCAT is a word, a combination of two words, Youth Catechism. The Catholic Catechism of the Church, but for the youth, in questions, making this catechism available to the young people in their words. We, the Lebanese and Arabic people, was sad to not find our language between these languages. And we came with a will we must make this catechism available to our Arabic reading people in this region. And we got the permissions for this, and we start hard work in the adaptation of this catechism. And while preparing, we knew that Pope Benedict decided to come to Lebanon and to the Orient to sign his apostolic exhortation for the Middle East. It was in September, and we were in June. We got 3 months. We say we are used to challenge, and we will make it. So I called our friends in the ACN, Church in Need, because they themselves supported the distribution of this book. So they said, yes, we are for this project. And we presented this book as a gift surprise. We finished it as a miracle. Then after, made edition, hundreds of thousands of books. Till now, we are making editions to all our Arab countries, in Iraq, in Syria, in Jordan, in Holy Land Palestine, in Egypt, and a lot of countries that it goes secretly, really in the bags of missionary. So everybody can have this catechism, and we got a lot of testimonies of people who changed their life, of people who asked for conversion, for baptism after reading these books. And you know, I want to say something. It's on my heart. We have a saying here that says, if you want to plan for a year, sow, plant grain, plant wheat. If you want to plan for 5 years, plant trees. But if you want to make plans for generations, sow, plant hope in the youth. And that what was made by the UCAT, by the Youth Catechism, and by all the books we can talk about, UCAT and UCAT Bible. These books and the Word of God and the Catechism of the Church planted in the heart of our youth here, make them so strong now. And that's a word for every benefactor, for every person at all levels that helped in this book. They helped that the hope flourish now. The hope and the faith flourish in the time of hard times, in these hard moments of temptation, when you think that the darkness said the last word. This moment, the hope that we plant in these books, in this word becoming life in the testimony of our youth now, it's the time that we say, thanks God. That is the real fruit that we didn't see when we planned that, but you, Lord, in your spirit, make us did this, so now we'll be very strong in faith.
This is indeed a time of difficulty, a time of great challenge, and so the strength of faith that these young people will need is enormous, because with all of the problems, political, economic, coronavirus, explosion, many young Christians are thinking of leaving. They are thinking, is there a future for me here? How do you answer this?
You know, dear Mark, it's a very difficult question to me, because it was one of the first time that I didn't find the word to tell to my young people. We are facing the most hard crisis, political instability, economical crisis, the big rate of unemployment. Our youth lost their jobs, and if someone is lucky who has his job, he have half salary. And all the prices of everything are not double, are 8 times more. And also the security situation, everything is unstable. Makes a lot of young people think, especially Christian young people, of emigrating, of searching for a new life abroad. And this explosion came in this time. This explosion, as if it exploded everything. It destroyed everything, even if we had a little faith stay, remain in the heart. When I didn't find word to say to anybody who is not leaving, I said, oh, Jesus, where are you? You said that you will put on our tongue and heart the Spirit reply to give the fire of faith again and the reason of living again to our young. So now, and I can you know, even me, I find myself in a big faith crisis, hope crisis, because it was so hard. Words can't describe this. It was so hard. We lost everything in one moment. But I said, please, Lord, You are the hope. I knew. I remembered my patron, Santa Teresa, who said, even in the dark tunnel of faith, I know you're here, Lord, even I don't feel you. But please, give us your hope. Give us your mercy. We know that you are our only salvation that remains. And you know what? This is time that brothers and friends are for. The second sign of hope, other than our youth volunteering in spite of everything, was our friends from abroad, from all the countries and foundation and association that came to say, we are here near you. It's time to say thank you to them. Because without your heart, without your support, in all kinds of supports, we didn't have this hope that we are not alone. And this gave us faith and courage of beginning again, of opening a new page and say, yes, the light of hope is here. The light of new life is here. We have a mission. We cannot leave it. We have a cross. We cannot throw it. The Lord is here and He will say thank you for them.
Father, what do you need now? What can your friends that we've spoken about, Aid to the Church in Need and others who are with you, what can we do now to help further the situation in Lebanon?
Well, you know, first of all, the urgent need is the communion of prayers. And already we feel it. We feel that we are not alone. This community of prayer is what makes us one church. You know, even if we are minority in this East, but together we are not minority anymore. That's our strength that make us one united church. That's the first. But the second, this prayer and this communion must be incarnated in support. We already felt this support in different ways. But now, a big support is needed. You know how much churches, hospitals, schools, and homes were deteriorated. A great support for reconstruction is needed. The history of Beirut said that it was deteriorated at least 7 times in the wars, all. But it was reborn, and we will rebuild Beirut better than again. We know this because this is our faith. But this communion together with all our friends in all countries, in all institutions, is very important. In this support, we have a lot of psychological support needed. For that, our youth established a counseling and listening center, a support center, to be near all our families for their all kind of needs. They are till now facing a hard trauma and psychological effects. Okay? And the mission again. We must not forget the mission we need. And as always, I said about the Yucat, it's always the same said about the Ducat. You know, the Ducat is the social teaching of the church. And what we plant in our youth, it's the dream of Pope Francis. He said, I dream of 1 million young people helping me to let this social teaching be inculcated everywhere. And what our youth made now was the fruit of this social teaching of the church.
Monsignor, thank you very much for having been with us today in our program.
Thanks to you, what I say to everyone who's seeing this episode on television or kind of social media or any place on the earth, we say we love you. We say together has power. You let us feel that we are not running alone. God bless you all, and a big heart to you, who's going with our deep prayers. We love you all.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having been with us today in our program. And if you'd like to know more about how you might help to rebuild, to start again, to encourage the faith of these young people, I would ask you to look at the contact information at the end of this program. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.